And so men who love and support their women, men who create opportunities for self-improvement for their women, that are not afraid of allowing their women to have expression, even on the public stage, they're very rare. Men like the men in my life, Cardi and Jeffrey. They are known as he for she. And so at every opportunity that we have, we must thank them and give more men the opportunity to come on board and become he for she's. It's not International Men's Day, but it's Wednesday, January the 31st, and it's a perfect day for you to be on board the Morning Brief on Channels Television. Welcome. Good morning. I am Bukola Koka.
Bukola, what do you want?
Jeffrey.
What do you want?
What do you want?
Sorry,
Bukola,
Jeffrey.
Bukola, wait,
What do you want? Tell us.
Valentine,
Just go straight. What
Valentine is 14 days from now, Bukola. what exactly do you want? Just
Well, absolutely nothing. As far
Wow,
as Valentine's
whoa.
is concerned, both of you are taking it.
Okay, that shocks me.
Okay.
Well, we'll take that.
Okay, we'll take
Hey, you're an absolutely wonderful person.
Thank you,
to support,
Cardi.
so.
Thank you, Jeffrey, for being amazing.
I don't know what to say, but just to say thank you too, because we didn't see that coming. All honest, they were like, we're just wondering where's
I
Bukola
knew
going?
Bukola had something.
Yes, but
didn't see this
I wasn't sure what. Anyway, good morning. It's the Morning Brief. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma.
I'm sorry, I'm still trying to soak all of that in. Welcome to the show, the 31st day in the month of January. They say you don't know what you have till it's gone. Now, January is about to go, and I'm sure a lot of people will miss January and say, how I wish I had just a little feel of January. So while January is still here, let us make the most of it. I'm Kayode Okikiolu.
Cardi, I disagree. Many people will be happy that January is finally over. All right, thank you so much for joining us. We have so much lined up for you today, starting with that important subject matter of insecurity. Like a cancerous infection, it's eating deep into the fabric of national life, as seen in kidnappings for ransom, unprovoked attacks, and mass killings of unharmed and innocent Nigerians. What's the enduring solution to the myriad challenges of banditry, insurgency, and kidnapping now spreading across the country? Today we feature an all-male young panel as we return to that thorny subject and try to answer that question that reoccurs time and again.
Yes, indeed. There's a lot to talk about with insecurity, but that's not all. Over thousands, literally thousands of abandoned projects is spread across the country. With a burgeoning national debt, crude oil thefts, and a weakening naira against the dollar, it appears Nigeria's economic challenges may just get tougher before the long-awaited reprieve for its young and increasing population. So it's only natural to ask, why are the reforms in the foreign exchange market long in coming? And after moving 5 places up from its 150th position in 2022 in the Corruption Perceptions Index, what are the implications of this upward movement on the assessment scale by the Transparency International? And where are the much-needed areas of improvement in Nigeria's public sector? Join us on this stuff as we engage someone who keeps a close watch on these issues.
Absolutely, it's a big conversation. The projects, the abandoned ones, some are not even constructed at all. Of course, we're going to be taking all of your contributions on the show. We are big on that. So let us know what you think with our conversations, the big stories, and more here in the studio. Your compelling videos are also quite important. This is how to go about it. If you're on X or any other social media platform, Facebook or what have you, hashtag CTV Morning Brief. So let's hear your voice. If it's about the abandoned projects, if it's about the security situation, let us hear your voice. That is why we're here. Or you can just simply go on WhatsApp. But thankfully, WhatsApp's name hasn't changed yet, so we still call it WhatsApp. The WhatsApp number is just right there on your screen that you can see. So send us your message, and if you have compelling videos as usual, send them our way. By the way, we'll be taking some of them on the show this morning as we have the conversation. So let's do this, shall we?
Yes, indeed. Let's do it together. We'll take a break now, and when we return, it will be time for the stories making the headlines on the Morning Brief. So stay with us. Welcome back to the morning brief. And as we start off with the top stories making the headlines, the need to tackle the problem of insecurity headlong became the rallying call for the legislative arm of government on Tuesday as the Senate summoned service chiefs over the spate of insecurity in the country. This was a unanimous call by the lawmakers after an emergency executive session on the first day of the year.
The rising spate of killings, kidnappings, banditry, and other criminal activities in the nation. Senate equally notes the various kidnappings within the Federal Capital Territory where victims have been killed after collecting ransom. Senate is also aware of several cases of kidnappings all over the country.
We are very disturbed. Without security, nothing can happen. And that's why each and every senator will speak about what's happening in his constituency when the service chiefs come. And we will demand for immediate solution.
And that would be the unanimous call after the first legislative plenary of the year. Similarly, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Abbas Tajuddin, is urging President Bola Tinubu not to shy away from taking tough decisions, including making changes within the nation's security apparatus. He stated this in his welcome address to members of the House at the resumption of plenary for the year 2024, during which he also proposed a national legislative security summit to prefer solutions to the security situation in the country. Also, House of Representatives spokesman Akin Rotimi broke down in tears, literally, while lamenting the killings of two traditional rulers in Ekiti State. And President Bola Tinubu has condemned the killing of two traditional rulers in Ekiti State, the Onimojo of Imojo Ekiti, Oba Olatunde Olushola, and the Elesun of Esun Ekiti, Oba David Ogushola. In a statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, the president pledged that the perpetrators of the mindless and brutal bloodletting will not escape justice. President Tinubu condoled with the families and subjects of the traditional rulers, Governor Biodun Yebanji, and the people of Ekiti State on the development. The president also called for the immediate rescue of pupils and teachers kidnapped around Ekporo Ekiti area of the state. And following the outcry that trailed the killing of the two Ekiti monarchs, the state governor, Mr. Biodun Yebanji, and his cabinet members have visited the two local government areas where the monarchs were killed by gunmen on Monday. During the visit, the governor commiserated with the families and people of the communities and assured them that the state government will mobilize every resource at its disposal to ensure that the perpetrators are brought to book.
It's an unfortunate incident. It's very sad. It's painful, unexpected, because Ekiti State has been extremely peaceful. This is an affront on us as a people, and it's sacrilege against the national institution. But I'm grateful and thankful to Mr. President, who was on the phone with me for close to 1 hour yesterday to commiserate with the Ekiti people and to also give the appropriate directive to the security agencies to fish out the perpetrator of this dastardly act. I have absolute confidence in the ability of the security agencies to fish out these people. On our part as a government, we continue to step up our efforts at securing our people, because that is why we are here. So my message to all these criminals is that Ekiti State is going to be too hot for them. We are going to go after them. And for those that are involved in this act, this sacrilege, we bring them to justice. But I'm so confident that we are going to pick them up. And with the kind of cooperation we have received from the communities and intelligence we are gathering, very soon they'll be in the net and they will face justice.
And concerned by the challenge of insecurity, also the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 presidential election, Mr. Peter Obi, is calling on government at all levels and Nigerians to collectively address the issues of kidnapping and banditry. Mr. Obi made the call shortly after visiting the remaining siblings of the late Nabiha Al-Qadriya, who was killed by her abductors in the Buari Area Council of Abuja. And Nigeria has recorded an improved ranking in the Corruption Perception Index, CPI, released by Transparency International, moving 5 places up to rank 145 out of 180 countries assessed. The CPI measures how corrupt each country's public sector is perceived.
The index revealed that Nigeria scored 25 out of 100 points in 2023 Corruption Perception Index, compared to 24 points in the year 2022. Corruption Perception Index, while Nigeria ranks 145 out of 180 countries, compared to 150 on the 2022 Corruption Perception Index results.
It's no longer news again that what we know as a cliche is go to court. We don't know if our votes will count or will count in the future, or the courts will decide our ballots. But this calls for concern on the review of the Electoral Act. The poor performance of the election fails to justify the huge resources allocated to INEC for the conduct of the elections. Again, it's no longer news if INEC conducts free, fair, and credible elections, or we just say we conduct elections. These times, we don't know if elections are free. We don't know if it is fair or if it is credible.
Now, it appears there may be some ease for the aviation sector as the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has announced that it has settled all verified forex claims by foreign airlines operating in the country with an additional payment of $64.44 million, bringing total disbursements to foreign airlines to $136.73 million. According to the CBN, this development underlines the bank's commitment to resolving outstanding forex obligations across all sectors. And in the meantime, the International Air Transport Association, IATA, says it welcomes the CBN's announcement. And now to foreign news. International Criminal Court, ICC, says there are grounds to believe that Sudan's warring military factions are committing serious crimes in the Darfur region. ICC prosecutor Karim Khan told the UN Security Council that his office is collecting a very significant body of material, information and evidence indicating that Sudan's regular army and the paramilitary rapid support forces, RSF, have committed genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and the crime of aggression in Darfur.
The failure of the international community to execute the warrants that have been issued by independent judges of the ICC has invigorated the climate of impunity and the outbreak of violence that commenced in April and that continues today. And as conflicts flare up in other parts of the world, there is a real risk that many Darfuris fear that their plight, the situation in Darfur, will be the forgotten atrocity. If it does, it will be the second time the people of Darfur have been failed, humanity at large failed, and we must not collectively allow that to happen.
Since the beginning of the conflict in April 2023, different forms of conflict-related sexual violence, including rapes, gang rapes, abductions, sexual slavery and exploitation, trafficking, sometimes used as a tactic of war, have been reported in all conflict-affected areas, in particular in Khartoum, Al Jazeera, Darfur states, and the Kordofan regions. We call upon all parties to the conflicts to immediately cease hostilities and to respect their obligations under international humanitarian law, including by refraining from targeting civilians' objects.
International law must be upheld at all times, and justice and accountability must be ensured for all violations. As the ongoing conflict in Sudan demonstrates once again, accountability for past atrocities is an essential prerequisite for peace and stability.
And finally, there are many more games of thrills and frills as Mali reaches the quarterfinals for the first time since 2013 by defeating Burkina Faso 2-1 on Tuesday evening. Aided by Lassine Sinayoko, who scored his third goal at the Africa Cup of Nations, and an early one from Edmond Tapsoba, an own goal, by the way, Mali got off to a great start in the 16th tie of the Auxerre doubled lead just after halftime. Also, South Africa have advanced to the quarterfinals, defeating Morocco 2-0 in Abidjan. And that's it on the top stories. As we move on now to your tweets, your comments from X, as I have Kayode joining me. So many things happening from the local to the international scene. I wonder what has stood out for you.
I think generally the security situation naturally will stand out. Then the economy, some have tough time choosing, but it's usually security for most people. And let's talk about that. We're starting with the situation in Ekiti State. First, monarchs were killed, and then unspecified number of school children abducted. It was just, it was sad to see those images from the bus, which was said to be conveying the students. So let's see what you were saying about that, because insecurity, it's not just a government or security agency thing, it's actually a you and I thing. And Enyolua has this to say about that situation. Says, I'm sending love and prayers to everyone from and in Ekiti State at this time, and for the safe return of our children. Our city, the fountain of knowledge, has lived in peace and utmost strength, even with little. It's my sincerest prayer that it continues to be that way. Incidentally, we were having the conversation with Enyolua, who just joked that, he's from Ekiti State, and Ekiti State, people from there are known to people who pursue education and do quite well. So this is not the kind of report we want to hear from Ekiti State. Not at all. And, just to add to that, Kayode, to be a false sense of comfort, particularly for leaders in the Southwest, to think that insecurity is now a problem exclusive to the northern part of the country, because we see now Ekiti, which has always had challenges of insecurity, particularly having to do with the activities of herders. And we recall that the law promulgated by the Assembly under former Governor Ayodele Fayoshi. And we've also had in recent times news about the Lagos PDP chairman released, both kidnapped along Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. So leaders in the Southwest also, have to come up with some form of regional collaboration to tackle the problem of insecurity. And the same goes for leaders in the other regions of the country. There's more coming from you. This one is from, since we're talking Ekiti Kete Kon, I believe that's it, Ekiti Kete Kon. Looks like it.
If na Fulani, House, Yoruba or Igbo, they terrorize Ekiti, Abiodun Oyebanji, root them out, take no prisoner. Take your job as CSO serious, sir. Ekiti is always peaceful and safe. Wake up, Mr. Governor. Wake up.
So those are calls from citizens to those in power. So we expect to see actions. He has said that, this will be followed through. Even the president had to release a statement. So we keep following the situation in Ekiti State, and of course we'll bring you the updates as they come in. So we talked about security. Let's talk about the economy. It looks like they go hand in hand. And there's been a lot of talk about the naira to the dollar and how, this is eating away at people's disposable income and the rest. There's still that classic case about made in Nigeria or, the appetite for made out of Nigeria. But take a look at what you are saying about the rate of dollar to the naira. And this is from XX_Juwon on X as well, saying, dollar, they rise, okay? Essentially saying dollar is rising, but some of us are still collecting the same allowance since 100 level.
Well, what level is Juwon in now? Is it 400 level final year, or is Juwon working?
Since he says allowance, sounds like he might still be in school.
We hope things get better for you, Juwon. This one is from Yemo247, and they say, we no longer patronize Babarisi Carpenter because we now have imported furnitures from Turkey. We help other countries build their economy when ours is tanking, and we want dollar to go down. How? He asks, or they ask. Let that dollar hit the highest it can go to give us a reset.
Ooh, okay. That's another angle to it. But take a look at
that hit hard.
Absolutely. Demola Cruz with this one. Trust me, he says, or she says, 65% of Nigerians still patronize made in Nigeria. But the question is, do Nigerians get the support they need to let what they do grow? Yeah, that's a question. He says, nope. During COVID, most citizens of other countries got help, but our common palliatives were hidden and eventually looted. But yeah, they were hidden.
Thank you for that reminder. Okay, so this one is from Emeka Chinakwe, I believe. See if all factors to make cost of production come down, Nigerians. Well, I'll take that to see if all factors to make cost of production come down. Nigerians will produce quality products that can compete with the rest of the world. You expect a wood miller to sell quality wood to carpenter after he spent 1,000 naira per litre to bring wood from Ogun State, then pay police.
So these are real issues that you have raised, and we're bringing them to the fore. We're still going to break them down on the show, but just to, we've bounced this off you now. We're getting your reaction. Now, this is a quite funny one, and it's from Sega Link. I'll translate it for those who may not understand that language. So it says, Nigeria are Nigerians, or Nigeria's problem. So I'll just translate this. It says, the person who rents a ladder, right, the person in that business, if you're in construction, you know that you get to rent ladders from people, says the same person is complaining of dollar and is asking, what is the connection? So you want 3,000 naira for that ladder. How much is the ladder in the first place? So he's essentially trying to connect what's happening with the dollar and the rest. Against the naira with, artisans or businesses like people who rent their ladders and the rest. So he's asking that question that, did I tell you I was climbing into heaven? And I know this conversation has been on. Why the tomato sellers, in this case, people who use ladders for business, why do they increase their prices and say it's because of the dollar? But these are multifaceted issues. If it's not the transport, if it is not the, maybe perhaps equipment, someone was talking about a carpenter. If a carpenter has to buy new equipment, maybe for sewing and the rest, a lot of them are imported. So it has to pass the cost on to the buyer eventually. But I know there are different angles to this, but it's also important to raise this point.
Perhaps when you consider that there hasn't been a significant increase in the pump price of petrol in the last few months, then maybe the service sector and every other player in the economy has no reason to push up the price of goods and services for some time. Then you can consider that, Sega Link's point is sound, but based on the rising inflation rate, again, you have to consider that every other person in the value chain of the economy, so to speak, may increase the price of their goods and services.
Sure.
Yeah. So we have more.
Absolutely. This is from I'm Vinicius Senior _Senior, and it's another breakdown. You want to take that? It says dollar at 500, salary 33,000. Dollar at 1,500, salary 33,000. This is targeted at NYC, by the way. It says NYC needs to fix this problem. But it's quite interesting. How much is the minimum wage again?
30,000 naira.
So you're earning 33,000 naira. The average worker who's earning the minimum wage, not a lot of them, but we always make that point, still earns 30,000 naira. And I know there's that wage review committee, which has been inaugurated. Set up. But obviously, we've not seen any increase in the wage. So big question you have raised there, but it's not just for the core members, it's also for the workers. For
the workers across board. And consider workers also who are not necessarily within government structure, who are entrepreneurs in their own right. So where is their own increase in wage coming from?
Big question. Big question.
Big
There's
question.
also the conversation around the Naira, and we can go on and on about that one. But let's turn our attention to AFCON, right? AFCON is also a big deal, something cheery, or at least something sporty in nature. It depends on which side you belong to. If you're on the winning side, it's not cheery. Sorry, it is cheery. If you're on the losing side, it is not cheery. If you're on Nigeria side, it's obviously cheery. So let's take a look at what you said about AFCON. 2 matches were played yesterday. Because I don't know if you stayed up for some of those matches or the last match.
It's not Nigeria, so I didn't stay up for the Mali match or the South Africa match. What? Maybe when Nigeria is playing, I'll stay up.
Of course, Friday. Okay, so Malik?
And he says, Egypt out, Cameroon out, Senegal out, Ghana out, Morocco out, AFCON is coming home.
I see
Amen.
what you did there. So some of those people you thought may be some sort of big problem for us if we face them are essentially out. I know that Senegal was top on that list because of obviously they're defending champions, but hey, they're out. So is AFCON, is the cup really coming home? Cautious optimism is a word, guys.
Particularly because we've been told that Angola has a very good team. So we just must be prepared with a lot of prayers and a lot of hard work as well.
Nigerians are really excited about this. You think that, they had stakes in this, particularly the match between Morocco and South Africa. And Mbadi for you essentially makes that point, saying Morocco out, clear road for Super Eagles. Well, the Eagles are not on the road, they're not on the floor, they're in the air. Okay, you get the point, right? So I want to say, you don't need to clear the air.
For the Super Eagles, right?
But hey, I understand the point.
Now, this one is coming from Wolf RMFC, and they say the underdog South Africa knocking out the favorites Morocco. Wow, AFCON, what a tournament.
What a tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, you can talk about how Cote d'Ivoire was on the verge of leaving. You saw their fans destroying buses and the rest. They were actually the third best to qualify. And take a look at what they did with the defending champion Senegal.
Absolutely.
And we can talk about how Nigeria sort of fumbled through the group stages and we defeated the host nation. We defeated Cameroon, and here we are. So it's actually a cup of, or a competition of surprises.
Many more surprises are bound to happen in the coming days.
But don't touch the cup for Nigeria. Let that one happen. UTD
Let me remind you, cautious optimism.
Cautious optimism. Okay, I need to remind myself of that. So we have 2 more comments from you before we get into the business of the day. UTD Trey says Mauritania took out Algeria, Mozambique took out Ghana, DR Congo knocked out Egypt, South Africa knocked out Morocco. This AFCON is insane.
Indeed. This one is from Africa Fact Zone, and they say South Africa's Bafana beat Morocco 2-0 to qualify for the quarterfinals of AFCON 2023. Morocco reached the semi-finals of the 2022 FIFA World Cup. They are ranked number 1 in Africa and number 13 in the world. South Africa are ranked number 12 in Africa and number 66 in the world. That's the paradox of AFCON.
Indeed. So, well, Nigeria is ranked not too highly as well, but we're not looking at ranks. It's 11 man against 11 man. So let's go for that gold. So those are some of the things you are saying, but Bukola, there's way more, right?
There's way more to come on the program as it affects you, especially besides the money in your pocket. Safety is also crucial. So stay with us for that all-important conversation about security. The Morning Brief is here for you.
It's the first plenary of the year as the House of Representatives reconvenes 1 month after its last sitting. The Speaker begins with an address specifically on the state of the nation.
On the economic front, our country continues to grapple with numerous hurdles that impede our growth trajectory. The continuous depreciation of the Naira has far-reaching consequences, given that Nigeria relies heavily on imports for many essential items, including fuel and machinery.
The security situation is a major concern for him as he asks the president to go tougher.
Indeed, the time has come for the president to demand greater performance and accountability from our service chiefs and all security and enforcement agencies. I implore the president not to shy away from making the tough decisions. If necessary, we must not hesitate to enact changes within our security apparatus for the cost of inaction if inaction is far too great to bear. In light of these challenges, I propose convening a national legislative security summit. This summit will serve as a crucible for ideas where stakeholders from diverse sectors will forge enduring solutions to our security woes.
For matters of urgent national importance that follow, further buttress the need for urgent action against insecurity, as the spokesperson of the House was moved to tears over the murder of 2 traditional rulers in Ekiti State on the 29th of January.
The House recognizes that the entire people of Imojo, in Oye local government and Esu, in Ikole local government, and the entire state have been thrown into mourning on account of the loss of our highly revered traditional rulers who were forces for community development, peace and stability in the constituency and the entire state. Take it easy.
The House then adjourns abruptly for a week to allow members campaign and participate in the by-elections scheduled for Saturday, the 3rd of February across the country. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Welcome back. Now, for the average Nigerian, besides the need to go to work and make ends meet and pay bills amidst, competing needs, there is also that worry of getting to work safely and getting back home in safety as well, without much incident. The challenge of insecurity continues to feature on the front burner of discussions. Of course, also combined with the myriad of economic challenges and the federal government's interventions in the form of reforms in the financial sector, why are the results long in coming? Let's have that conversation this morning as we feature an all-male panel of discussants, starting with as we introduce our guest, Prince Kennedy Ahanotu is a national youth leader of the Labour Party. Ms. Prince Kennedy Ahanotu joins us from our Abuja studio. We also have joining us later on, hopefully, Mr. Anthony Ehilebo. He's a member of the People's Democratic Party, and he'll be joining us via Zoom from Benin City. We also have joining us Mr. Aliu Audu, Special Assistant to the President on Public Affairs, who also joins us via our Abuja studio. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the morning brief.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
So, Mr. Audu, I'm going to start with you. As Jeffrey always says, you are a member of the ruling party, and you'll be doing much of the heavy lifting for good reason, because the government in power is a government of your political party. And let's recall the position by the Speaker of the House of Representatives yesterday, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, who says that Mr. President must not be afraid of making difficult decisions as far as the security apparatus is concerned. So we're seeking solutions. What would be those difficult security decisions, solutions? Would it be taking a second look at the formation of the service chiefs and see whether they're delivering on their mandate or not, and try to move things around? Let's start with you, Mr. Aliu.
All right, good morning. I think Mr. President has never been someone who shies away from making the right call, however difficult. And I mean, I have no doubt that he isn't going to change now. I mean, the call is well within, is well positioned. However, I think we are going to need to do a lot more than that. Mr. President, as a leader, will lead from the front, but the entire nation would have to, rally around. We need to find, ways of inspiring ourselves. We need to motivate one another. We need to bind together. this isn't a time to point fingers who should do what. We all need to be up and doing, and I mean, as expected of any leader, we expect that the lead from the front, which Mr. President has done, is like, I mean, it's clearly in the public knowledge now. A number of hard decisions, a number of organizational reforms are ongoing, and these are by no means easy calls. And I mean, our security challenge isn't in isolation. It's a result of a broken system, you know, and we expect that from the bottom all the way top, or from all to the top, and the top all the way to the bottom, a lot needs to be done. We have security agencies who have forgotten the very sole essence of their engagement. We have a system, security system, who isn't designed to reflect our current reality. I mean, from the speaker, from the legislative angle, you know, a lot needs to be done. And we all at this point need to have conversation around our current challenges, how we got here, and how we have to get ourselves out of this place. Because like I have always said time and time again, no one will do it for us if we don't do it for ourselves. And I am confident that Mr. President is very up to the task. He asked for this assignment. He is not overwhelmed. He understands what is required of him at this point, and I am confident he's doing what he needs to do. More is expected from every one of them, every one of us, including him, you know, and every leader at every angle or every arm of government or every strata, you know, needs to communicate with the people. We need to have that, you know, holistic communication. There's got to be understanding. We have to be on the same page so we can understand our challenges and find ways to resolve them in such a way that, you know, give ways to better life for every one of us.
Mr. Audu, pardon me, Jeffrey. Mr. Audu, besides, as a follow-up to some of the things that you have said, the question is what should be done? So the president has been clear to members of his cabinet that they must deliver or there would be a shake-up, and we have seen some tough decisions made in certain ministries. Shouldn't the same apply to the security architecture as well? Because their work is clearly cut out for them. So if they aren't delivering and we're having a review of thousands of people killed since the beginning of this administration and thousands as well kidnapped, so shouldn't there be a review of the leadership of the service chiefs?
Absolutely, but we must not be in a rush to change. I mean, to ask for such changes at the moment. But of course, that has to be on the table. That's an angle that we need to, that the president, of course, is definitely looking at. But we must equally, I mean, understand that these chiefs have just come into office for a number of months now. We need to understand that there is need for time for them to appreciate what they have taken over, you know, appraise the current scenario and come up with solutions. I'm not saying they should be given endless time, but we must not be in a rush to quickly change personnel. There are a lot of other things that need to be looked at. I mean, the organizational structure, the operational structure, and I mean, a whole lot. Before thinking of moving men around, we probably need to look at the system. We need to look at there are other areas that I mean, that is definitely an important part to do, but it isn't just the only thing to do, because as we've seen from past, there are times such changes have been made and we haven't seen expected results. So we need to be more deliberate and more pragmatic. We need to be more scientific as analyzing our challenges and profiling solutions and actually working this solution for the sole aim of getting the desired result, not just so we said, oh, we have changed people. No, we must do what needs to be done to get results. And just changing personnel doesn't seem quite like the only solution or the silver bullet right about now.
Let's come to you, Mr. Audu, from the Labour Party. I'm sure you want to respond to some of the things that Mr. Audu has said, but just besides responding to him, some have argued that it's quite early to give the assessment of the government. They are barely 8 months in power. I don't know whether you think that is a bit hasty for Nigerians to expect too much, given that the fact that they just came into power, or you feel that by now, with the promises they made during campaigns, certain things should have happened.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I think, in fact, we are not early to expect whatever result that Nigerians have imposed on this government, because you apply for the job, you prepared for it, you went for the interview in terms of campaigns, and you told them you are going to deliver. So let's not talk about the timing, whether it's early or late. The most important thing is what are Nigerians benefiting from their investment in terms of the electoral investment they made in the 2023 general election. And I am disappointed personally, not because of partisanship, because I'm a Nigerian, and I think what affects every other Nigerian affects me. For example, the president promised to be the president of Federal Republic of Nigeria, but it's shocking to understand that under these 8 months, Mr. President has stayed only about 65%, have spent 65% of his time in Nigeria. The 35–40% have been spent overseas. And the governance is not about traveling from one place to the other. I remember how Libya used to be very strong then when Muammar Gaddafi was their president. And there are many presidents that don't even travel to other countries, and they sit with their citizens, suffer with their citizens, mourn with their citizens, and celebrate with their citizens. For instance, the president is not even around. And look at what is happening in the security sector of the country. And it is now the National Assembly that is inviting the security chiefs. And National Assembly does not have the executive power to, change the security architecture. So you see that, for me, Nigerians have not actually enjoyed the benefit of their vote as declared in 2023 general election. I would have expected by now that we push our attention towards the rural areas, towards the villages, towards the hinterlands. If you look at the security situation in Nigeria, you see that it's no longer safe to be in your house. In those days, it's the road that people were always afraid of flying. But now, people are picked up from their homes. People are picked up from their schools. People are picked up from even their mosque churches. And I think that is another level of insecurity. It's no longer on the road. It's no longer in the bush. We are no longer hearing about herdsmen and these farmers. We are now hearing that people will be picked up from the comfort of their bedroom where they are watching television with their children. In a country where we have a president, I think we should be more responsible. When you say you don't need to disband the security architecture within 1 month, I don't believe so. What I believe is that if somebody is given an appointment, before he was given that appointment, there is a session and period of training which such a fellow have undergone. And if that period of training does not prepare you to respond immediately to the issues on ground, that means you are not qualified to be in that position. Let's not continue to play politics with these things in our nation. It's not about politicizing the security issues, the security architecture, or giving appointment to people you felt that are very loyal and they believe in your government. It's about solving the problem of Nigeria. And if we must solve the problem of Nigeria, I don't believe what my brother here is saying. Not because I'm not a member of his party, not because I'm not a member of President Tinubu's government or his team in the presidency, but because I feel that the moment that election was declared and the moment he was handed over power, he should have taken some steps towards resolving the issues of Nigeria. Even in the economy, you can imagine, they say they want to pay palliatives to Nigerian poor masses, and over 3 billion was signed, alleged by the chief of staff to the president. You saw what happened to the minister of humanitarian affairs, and this is the government that is expected to reach out to the poor masses. Consultancy. Why can't you go to the rural areas and consult with the traditional rulers, the village head, and ask them to give you lists of the people that are under the carpet in terms of poverty?
Right. We'll get to that conversation around the economy and poverty. If you can hear me, we'll get to that. But let's deal with the insecurity situation. Well, some will say they're even related. So, Mr. Hilebo, I'll come to you now on this one, just to get your thoughts. Too early? Is it too late? Is it never too early? I know that your presidential candidate, your principal, Mr. Atiku Abubakar, had spoken about the security situation, asking the president that if the shoes were too big, he should step aside. The presidency, of course, responded and said that they have been seeing some results already, saying that arrests have been made of over 139 kidnappers around Abuja, Kaduna, Benue, and the rest. So this is quite important for you because your presidential candidate has been speaking particularly about this and has been getting reactions. But I wonder what you have to say, Hilebo.
Well, thank you very much, Howdy. And good morning, Nigerians. Well, is it a good morning? I doubt for most Nigerians. I've been away from Abuja for a couple of weeks, and I came back just for the weekend or for a week to do one or two things. And I went somewhere by 6 o'clock, and people had started running back home because of the insecurity that kidnapping was now rife in Abuja, of all places. That to me was very indicative. I mean, up until some time, we always felt safe, at least within the precincts of the Federal Capital Territory. That aside, this government has been there for 8 months. And the problem we saw in the last government was the appointments that were made into the security hierarchy seemed a bit skewed towards a particular region or ethnicity. And we had said during the presidential campaigns that one of the things that we needed to do was to ensure that not just people from a particular region of the country or particular ethnic coloration were given responsibilities of protecting people, that it was spread across the geopolitical zones and the diverse ethnic peoples that we have in Nigeria. That's the first step, because security is an inclusive project, and it means that everybody is involved. But where one set of people seem to be in charge of our security, then everybody turns their back and says, that's your business. Why don't you just run it the way you want to run it? Apart from that, we're hearing now different incidences of, there is an incident of a certain military chief that has been fingered in bunkering. These are things that we expect that this government would come hands-on. Yes, they've gotten a mandate of the people, so to speak. The only thing that we ask of them is to protect. It's a cardinal function of the Constitution of any government's first responsibility is the provision of security for the people that it governs. And where it has failed to do that, then that government has failed. And so we're beginning to see and beginning to say that the government of the day has literally failed Nigerians economically. You come in, and the first day you come in, you take away subsidy. And Nigerians now have to pay 600 and something naira per liter for petrol, everything, inflation, the cost of goods. But we do not see a commensurate rise in the wage bill or the income people get to survive. So where income does not meet expenditure, what else do you expect more desperate people to do? We do hope that as we speak about these issues on national TV and other dailies, that the government begins to see how serious this issue. But like the Labour's youth leader has just said, the president is not even in the country. He's not even aware of some of these things. We keep hearing the rhetorics, like the SA has just come to say on national TV that we should give them 8 months is not enough time. But 8 months is enough time to show seriousness. 8 months is enough time. The number of lives that we've lost in Nigeria are not going to be counting 8 months. People who have lost their fathers, just the other day, people were kidnapped in Abuja. Some of them were killed. How do you think those people whose family members are they counting the 8 months? Are they saying, oh, we should give more time? Look, once you are elected into power, when you're given power, the first thing you do is prioritize the areas that you think your people need support. And before this president or continuation of the APC, we always knew that we had security challenges. And the promise the government made to people was that they were going to do better. But have they done better? No, we've seen them be far worse. Just the other day, the ECOWAS, some countries pulled out of ECOWAS. You know how important this country's contribution to providing security. We have porous borders. And if we do not maintain the relationship with our sister countries, we're unable to police our borders effectively. Because some of these arms, the small and light arms, come in through these our porous borders. And if we do not have the intelligence, we do not have the cooperation of our sister countries, then we are done for. That aside, what is the implementation of the state security system that we have currently? I mean, they are all ad hoc, but we've not had a state policy towards providing dedicated and legally backed state security services. So, in the instance of state police, how has the federal government encouraged this? Because we've seen that even when this crisis peaked in the southwest a couple of years ago, that's when they started Amotekun. And Amotekun was quite effective in curbing some of these things. And even in Edo State, where I am today, the Edo State Vigilante Services, to a large extent, has done very well in curbing instances of crime, instances of kidnapping. So that in itself should lend credence to the fact that we must look at this as an avenue or as a format for dealing with our security. We have new challenges. These are new age challenges. We need new age ideas to deal with them. What are the new age ideas that this government has put on the table to tell us that they are ready to deal with these scenarios that we face across the country? People, look, once you do not have security, you cannot have an economy that thrives, because nobody will want to come and do business or invest in anywhere where they know that they are coming, their lives are not worth
Mr. Hilebo.
Their lives are not even worth anything to the government.
Yeah, Mr. Hilebo, I'm going to pick up from a very critical point that you have made, which is how effective security has been as a result of the work of the Edo State Vigilante in the South. Speaking of which, as we move to other parts of the country, many are asking the question, why is it the challenge of insecurity seeping through not just from the northwest now, but moving further down south, Ekiti State, for instance, Lagos and Ogun State. I'm coming to you now, Mr. Audu, as we try to prefer more solutions to the challenge of insecurity, looking at the role of state police and how it is important for us to devolve powers more to the local government so that they can, handle security. How can we get the commitment? And I imagine that you may also want to respond to what your colleagues in the PDP and the Labour Party have said. But how can we secure the commitment of the administration to empower the local governments to thrive, knowing how that conversation about ineffectiveness of governance at the local government has gone so far? Mr. Audu, starting with you now.
All right. I mean, it's clear that our problem isn't just at the top. I mean, when we say multidimensional poverty, we want to look at the subnationals and the local government, the state government. I mean, these are the closest to the people in every state and the Federal Capital Territory. And you look at within the laws we currently have, are there ways that the country, those who are in charge of these subnationals, can improve on the security? We hear about the laws passed, the bills passed, the laws passed by the last government, and it's about giving powers to the local governments It's about having people put in charge of the affairs of local governments in the country, being up to their duties and doing what needs to be done. Seeking support from the top will only come from when the people who are there are willing to do what needs to be done. The president does not have to be in every local government to be able to do what needs to be done to secure local government. So that puts to rest the issue of the president is not in the country, and if he were in the country, he wouldn't be in Ekiti State. If he were in the country, he won't be in Niger State. If he were in the country, he won't be in 36 states and the FCT at the same time. What the government needs to do, what we have been doing as a government, have been institutional reforms. We have, this system didn't just start 8 months ago. It didn't start 8 years ago. It didn't start 16 years ago. It didn't start 24 years ago. We have decades-long broken system, and it is now catching up with us. What we are facing is nothing but reality of our collective failure over the years, over the decade. The first step to fixing them is coming up with enabling laws, looking at our laws, looking at our legal framework as to how this country is managed. And if you look at everything Mr. President has done from day one he took office till now, has been majorly about these institutional reforms. I mean, we can be uncomfortable. We are probably uncomfortable with the outcome of, you know, with what we are seeing. But we need to ask ourselves, what needs to be done better? What could we have done? What should he have done? We cannot build a whole system on top poor foundation. The laws are the foundation. And anybody will agree that all of the policies, all of the laws that Mr. President has you know, put his hand on since he came into power has been the right ones. The international communities are commending that. People within, as much as we are uncomfortable with what we are seeing, we know is the right thing that has been done, which is what he is expected to do. However, on the other side, what are the rest of us expected to do? It is not PDP, Labour Party, APC, it is a Nigeria issues. And Nigeria issues are caused by Nigerians. We have someone who understands how system works. We have someone who understands that processes must be maintained. There has to be consistency. I can clearly give an example of the ongoing Nations Cup. We watched our first 3 games. We got results not so, you know, good, but good enough to push us through. But we all knew that the process was not right. We could not have just gone to say, oh, remove the 24 players or the 11 players and replace them. No. We need to find a way to analyze these issues. My brother from Edo rightly said, there are other informal security outfits that can be maintained or can be controlled by local government, state government to check this. People-oriented security system. I mean, we need to take responsibility for our society. We need to take responsibility for our environment. Move away from the security challenges that we're talking about.
Aldo, just a minute, just a button. And gentlemen, at any point where your colleagues across board, whether studio or Zoom is speaking, if you have anything to interject, you can come in as much as possible. It's a conversation. We're trying to look for solution. But Aldo, let me come to you. You did say that the president, even if he was here, wouldn't be in Ekiti. I think some persons may think that's indicted because we've also observed, I don't know, when it comes to positional leadership, some people are not quite happy with the president when it comes to how he shows empathy, besides maybe sitting in Abuja and giving statements and the pressers, because we realize that since the carnage on the plateau in Barking Ladi and Bokos, the president hasn't visited the plateau. When the accidental bombing happened in Kaduna, the president hasn't visited Kaduna to empathize with the people. These are soft approach to leadership that could pacify people and even win interest. So I don't know what your response is to this particular issue, because we can talk about the heavy liftings of equipment, coming together. When you're calling people to join you in leading, you need to show empathy. Don't you think so?
Yeah.
That's what Aldo, you can respond when Aldo is done, sir.
Okay, yes. Okay. I mean, empathy is essential. However, we must understand that we have not just elected Mr. President alone to do this job. He has a team. And we do not expect, I maintain, we do not expect that Mr. President is going to be the only person who will single-handedly attend to every issue. I mean, the Vice President has been to these locations you've talked about. Mr. Vice President is strong enough to run the affairs of the country. He's strong enough to represent his principal in those areas. I mean, it would have been empathetic, or even more, having President go to those locations to speak with the people. But Vice President has gone in his stead. And that's, we need to look at, I mean, let's move away from what appeals to sentiments. Let's move away into effectiveness.
Mr. Audu, are you saying that, Mr. Audu, just a minute, because I'm going to come to other guests as well, so that they will respond to you. Almost 200 people were killed in Plateau. 30 more have been killed in the same Plateau. And you're saying that the president shouldn't visit? Accidental bombing killed people in Kaduna. And he said that the vice president visiting is just enough. That's my question. And maybe the other guests will respond as well.
To put it straight, I haven't said the president shouldn't visit. I have simply said that the vice president and the other people from government who have gone to visit have the appropriate authority and representation to be there. I mean, it is the truth. It might not sound very sweet. We might not want to admit it to ourselves. It is the truth that Mr. President cannot be everywhere at every time. That is why it is a team effort. He cannot do it alone. We should not expect him to be the one who does everything. I mean, that's it. We have other people. We need to work together to fix our problem. We have not outsourced all of our problem to an individual.
Thank you.
He's taking this stand, and it's instructive to tell the kind of people that are...
Go ahead.
Mr. Elebo.
Is it okay?
You can go ahead, Mr. Hanatu.
Looks like Mr. Elebo's connection is frozen.
Okay, thank you. I just want to be sure that I have the mic. I am again disappointed, and in fact, my heart is broken right now for my brother here, my compatriot here, to be saying that a president don't need to be everywhere. A president needs to be everywhere. A president needs to be everywhere. And I said it again, my brother Audu, a president needs to be everywhere, every time. For example, I can't believe it. The people of the Plateau cannot believe it. The people of Kaduna State cannot believe it. That accidental discharge, accidental whatever, killed numbers of people. You know, sometimes we try to emulate other countries, but just mention that one citizen of a US citizen, one, was kidnapped. You hear press conference by the president. You hear the president speaking. He's not speaking because he doesn't have a minister of defense. He's not speaking because he doesn't have an army chief. He's not speaking because he doesn't have commissioners of police in those states. He is speaking because it is his government, and he is in position to take responsibility for whatever happened to every Nigerian citizen. So it is totally unacceptable for us to be sharing on this national platform that Mr. President don't need to be there. I mean, you said that Mr. President was not voted alone. Nigerians voted only Mr. President. When you say team, it is in his capacity as the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria to assemble assistants like you. But the problem with Nigeria is that when these kind of assemblages are made, they now turn to defense to the man who appointed them, instead of them to now go into details and execute the mandate of their various offices in terms of delivering good governance and helping the president to achieve success in their various sectors. They turn it to a position of defense. Defending Mr. President so their appointment will be sustained, defending Mr. President so that maybe they will be given another opportunity to serve in any other. I don't have that understanding that you must congratulate Mr. President for not visiting people. Okay, now Mr. President is not in the country. Does the National Assembly have the authority to appoint a new chief army security chiefs? No. Or is it that when the National Assembly make a recommendation, he will give that appointment from wherever he is? Well, so that is what we are talking about. Well, and again, my brother from Edo State have mentioned
you can land on that point, Prince Ahana, so you can land on that point quickly.
Okay, my brother from Edo have just mentioned, and I think I agree with that. For example, Mr. President was here when it was recommended that many security agents and officers are in the hand of government officials, that they should be withdrawn. I was very surprised that some people went to court to obtain an order that security should not be withdrawn from government officials. Who are we now protecting? Is it Nigerians or the government officials? You see security around, centered around one individual. In fact, in New Year this year, I was embarrassed by a security personnel with my 4-year-old daughter pointing AK on my face, that if I talk, he would disgrace me in front of my daughter, 4-year-old daughter of mine. What do you think will be going on in that girl's head? Just because I came and he's protecting a high-profile individual, and he was telling me that he will shoot me in front of my 4-year-old daughter.
Oh dear.
So we need to withdraw these security men from some of these guys.
I think it's instructive that we're young people and we're talking about our leaders here. We must be conscious of the fact that this generation belongs to young people. And if young people can come up and make excuses for the failures of government or failures of our leaders, then we are nowhere, we're not heading anywhere fast. I mean, if you sit in the studio as a young man and say it's okay for the president not to visit mass casualty event centers around the country, and that he shows an I don't care attitude, then I will blame the young people around the president, because I will not certainly sit around my leader or whoever I follow and we show lack of empathy towards the people. The people first need to know that this has happened to us, but our leader, our president, cares about what has happened to us. So please, we must stop this. Quite frankly, and I'm speaking to the young man from the APC. This president is the president of the entire country. If anything happens across the country, we don't want the vice president. We want the president to come there and show empathy. Please, 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 please. We're on national TV. We must not excuse things that are, in every country I've seen in the world. Once there's a in fact, 2-3 people lose their life, the president immediately addresses that issue, because one life is too much to lose. Because that one life may be the doctor, maybe the next president of the country that will change the face of the country that we have just lost. So we must care about everybody in the country. We must care about the loss of lives when it happens, mass casualty events. And then we must investigate and find solutions to stopping these things happening again. It's not just enough to say he has a team. What is the team? What authority did the team have to relieve somebody who is not performing in an area of security where that person is supposed to provide security for the people? If he's not performing, it's the president that the board stops at his table to either fire that person or give that person a resounding warning that if this happens again, you lose your job. This is what we've always said and wanted from whoever becomes president or leader in this country. Okay. It's not enough to sit back and defend them, and say, okay, it's okay for them not to go to mass casualty.
All right, gentlemen, I know we've talked about this empathy part. I know the special assistant to the president on the public affairs had said that, well, the president visiting may have shown more empathy, but that the other people who visited had the authority of the president. Now, this conversation is on different layers. We can talk about the empathy, the response, and we can talk about getting the results as well, which I imagine a lot of people will want. They'd rather not want to be kidnapped, at least, than be kidnapped and then having someone visiting their families to say, well, sorry that your family member was kidnapped or killed. And, you know, I saw this very instructive tweets from one of our audience who's put it on X, actually talking about the security situation, particularly the monarchs that were killed in Ekiti State. And I'll just read this just to show that this is actually real for a lot of people. Now, it says that the true that traditional rulers killed from villages sharing boundaries with my village in Kogi. He says, my own father is a traditional ruler too. It could have happened to my father as well. That's what Orebi Emmanuel says on X, and it's praying that may God have mercy on us. So these are real issues that affect Nigerians. But in order to capture some of the other issues, Security is one, yes, but the economy is another one. So I'd like us to switch gears, and I know we'll probably be relating this to security from time to time, but so we can touch on the issues as well. Let's talk about the economic situation. Let's ensure that we have these well-rounded conversations. I'll go to the President's Special Advisor on Public Affairs, Mr. Aliyu Audu in Abuja studio, and let's talk about the economic situation. And of course, what sticks out is a value of $1 to the Naira. It's given a lot of people concerns. Some people have given different angles to it, but let's start from the empathy part yet again. We need the results, but what is the president's position on this? How is it taking this? Because for a lot of people, their disposable income is being eaten away, inflation is rising, and they're wondering just how bad can this get before we get a reprieve?
All right. I have to appreciate your effort at clearing misunderstanding from my fellow guest, and I have been on this long enough to know that most times you say something and people hear what they want to hear. Regardless, we've got to say what needs to be said. The current challenges we have can either make us lose hope or inspire us to fix our system. I can't say that enough. And fixing our system, as much as being empathetic, you know, let's get it clear. I am not primarily an APC member or special assistant to the president. I wasn't that yesterday. I won't be that tomorrow. But I will always be a Nigerian. That is the identity that is second only to my humanity. And that's what I think matters to all of us. However, we have come to find ourselves in a situation we cannot all pretend, except people who are not knowledgeable about this country, about how we've been. We can't pretend like we don't know how we got here. It didn't start 2 weeks ago, 8 months, 8 years. No. I mean, we can argue at whether this country has ever worked or we have a system that has ever worked or we've been. See, we are at a point where we can look at the last 30, 40 years, 10 years, and look at the next 10, 20 years cannot be the way the last have been. And it can only be one thing. It isn't about moving around and, you know, showing faces, doing ujuaye, let people say I'm being empathetic. No, it's about doing the hard calls. It's about making the hard calls. And there is no one who has, you know, embraced making such hard calls than Mr. President. We're talking about the economy. We're talking about the exchange rate. How did we get here? What do we do to get ourselves out of here? Unify the exchange policy. He's done that. We've seen all of the reforms in the financial institution. I mean, I am relieved to hear that of our $8 to $10 billion obligations to international companies, we have been able to pay back $2 billion. You know, it's gradual. You know, before we fix ourselves, we are going to have to embrace our reality. Our reality is we currently live in a country where the average man is not living by the what's it called, the market force. There's so much politics around our economy, and until we are able to create a functional system where economy thrive, not on the basis of who occupies an office, but on the basis of the very principle that keeps a society going, keeps an economy, you know, robust, and keep it surviving and succeeding itself, we won't get out of what we are doing. We can look at everything we are going through and it's unfortunate that we have to be here, considering the amount of resources, both human and material, that we've been blessed with. But this is our reality. You know, we must not cry over, you know, shy hopelessness and look for who to blame for what. No, let's look at, if I were in a position, what would I do? What would be the first thing to do? Legal framework. What has the president done? Just exactly that. What does the rest of us need to do? Align ourselves with that sole purpose of ensuring we build a society that works for all, not for few, as we have seen many decades ago. Let's understand it, that people have gone to church, people have gone to mosque to give praises for cheating the system.
Well,
and they call it grace.
Andrew.
They call it smartness.
Mr. Andrew.
However, the only reason all of those things happened, that they were successful enough to put us in this position, is because we have not had system that is built on laws and those laws upheld day to day. It is not we do one thing that needs to be done today and go to sleep. We need to have a consistent application of.
Mr. Audu, pardon me if I may come in there. If you say we have not had a system built on laws, that could be self-indicting, because the APC administration is not new. It's been an administration for about the last decade. And perhaps one of the things that Nigerians could say to you would be, you say this is our reality, but this has been our reality for far too long. We know what the naira was against the dollar before the APC government came on board. And in fairness to you, you have said that the administration has made some interventions. If we consider the floating of the naira, if we consider the Afrexim Bank loan, if we consider even that has been implemented just recently, but the results are long in coming. The question is the government doing trial by error? Does it have a firm understanding of how to fix the economy? How long before the results come?
All right. Yes, we might have succeeded our party. I mean, even within your own self, as an individual, you'll be deceiving yourself if you do not look at things you've done in the past and see how you could have done better and aim to do it better. And I mean, it doesn't mean you yesterday was against today. You probably have information today that you didn't have yesterday. I mean, we're talking about same government, yes. Same government last 8 years, they removed subsidy, but it has been done. The unifying of FX policy, like you rightly said, it has been done. It is, I am not speaking for APC as a government. You know, I might be special assistant to Mr. President, but the fact is, the situation we are faced with, it concerns every single one of us. Every Nigerian is affected here, but only one person at a time can be in charge. And if the person in charge is doing the right thing, all we need to do is to rally around and support what the right thing is what the right thing that is being done, irrespective of who is doing it. We shouldn't look at it. To answer, it is not trial by error, because people who know within, people who understand national economy within and outside the country are all full of commendation for the policies we've taken. However, policy themselves don't fix things. We have people who go to work every day to put policy into action. How well are these people doing? We have people who go to these places to demand service. How well are these people doing? We need to be able to now look at how to get value or give value at every point as against the culture of amassing wealth. If we are being honest, our problem is bigger than 4 years. You know, it's a continuous process of fixing. Even the best economists in the world are having challenges today. It doesn't mean they have been wrong all along. It means as the challenges come, we have to devise the best way to fix it, that fix our problem today and prevent the occurrence tomorrow. And I think that's exactly what Mr. President is doing. It might seem like it's taking a little long for us to get the result, but good things don't come easy. As against going on with the usual way that we've done things that have not paid us, we need to turn around. And the process of turning around will cause some headaches, will cause some fever, will cause some, but we'll get over it. We are Nigerians. Right. If there's anything we know, is bouncing back, and we will bounce back. But the right thing is being done right now. More needs to be done from Mr. President. More needs to be done from everyone in government, as more is needed to be done from every single one of us, whether we're in government or not.
All right, Mr. Aldo, great point you made. Let's go to Mr. Honor too. Just before, I'm sure you're waiting to respond, but excuse me. In addition to your response, I also know that literally all the presidential candidates from the PDP, APC to the Labour Party all said they would remove subsidy. So that is everybody's consensus, that subsidy had to go, which is one of the reasons why we're here, and is maintained that this is one of the bold decisions the president has made. But my question to you is constantly appeal that the president knows where we're going and he is clearly leading this ship in the right direction. Do you see that from where you stand, and is there a need for you to now rethink and begin to show support besides your response to him?
My brother, I don't understand what you mean by, do I need to rethink and show support for Mr. President? Constitutionally, we have a president in Nigeria, and it's expected of every patriotic citizen to obey the laws of the land. So only obeying the laws of the land have made me supportive to government in place. So, but then I want to come back to my brother here. I'm not trying to subscribe to work for Mr. President. I don't have that intention. I would have preferred to work with my presidential candidate in the last election, Mr. Peter, because I felt he would have been more proactive. Yes, every of the presidential candidates said that subsidy will be removed. Accepted, but you know one thing with practical. Practical, when you go to the lab to execute a practical, you know, ordinary titration, you need to know the quantity of the chemicals you need to mix to get a particular result. That is the strategy. And then the idea is with each and every one of them. We have seen the idea of President Tinubu in removing subsidy. The idea is for fuel price to rise, dollar keep rising, salary will remain at the same level. Everything in Nigeria is rising, except the wages of the common man. Everything in Nigeria, people in power, you know, we are just talking about fuel subsidy. When you remove fuel subsidy, you also remove governance subsidy. Are there not subsidy in governance? How can people be elected in the National Assembly? They have vehicles, they fly, they don't use the road, and then as executive president of a country, you are assenting, giving approval for them to be given an SUV worth over hundreds of millions of naira, and that money you are using to buy that vehicle, you are going to borrow it. It's not as if that the rail system is working. It's not as if that the transport road system is working. It's not as if we have a single underground in the Federal Capital Territory. Instead of you to say, look, gentlemen, this service in these 4 years, in fact, my brother have mentioned that 4 years is not enough. So if I were him as the public affairs special advisor, what I would be doing on channels is to say that, 1, Mr. President have removed subsidy. 2, Mr. President have approved the increment of wages of Nigerian workers. 3, Mr. President have done this in terms of balancing the FS, in terms of commissioning an infrastructural revolution in the area of rail transportation. If I were him, I would be telling Nigerians that in 1 month time, just like they said that December refineries will be working, and today, I don't know how effective and how functional our refineries are. So if I were the public affairs special advisor, I'll be telling my generation, the youths of me, it's our generation that we are talking about. I'll be telling my generation that in the next 1 month, that there will be fuel on every, there will be fuel produced in Nigerian soil. I'll be telling Nigerian youths that all the public institutions in Nigeria, that once you graduate from the university, that you have an automatic employment to practice in the area of your study. I'll be telling Nigerian youth that agriculture now, the moment you produce, there will be a buyback system by the government. I'll be telling Nigerian youth that unemployment, it shouldn't bother them, that to create an idea, and I know that Nigerians are very skillful and intelligent. We have Nigerians doing excellently well, people in the diaspora. I'll be telling Nigerian youth that all our people in the diaspora doing the japa, moving away from this country to Canada, to US, that please, every individual in the US, in the UK, in Canada, that have a single idea in terms of industrial revolution in Nigeria should come. I will shock you, during the campaigns, one young man called me from, I think, Ireland, and said that the last government, that he had a medical solution, a young person, he is a young person, that he has a medical solution, and he has been introduced to the presidency to bring that medical solution to Nigeria. But the money that the cartels in the presidency are charging him to pay before this solution will be, domicilized in Nigeria is huge. That the guy told me that he was very angry, that how can I be bringing a solution? Instead of you to say, oh yeah, come and practice this in Nigeria, you are telling me to pay you some certain amount of, that is what is obtainable. And that is why I'm telling my brother, please, Don't start here, stand in front of our generation. He said we need to. We need
Mr. Hanotu.
Prince Hanotu, we have to wind down now, but just quickly, I mean, less than 30 seconds. Mr. Audu, is that cartel which he speaks of, which he says the young person talked about, is this still in the presidency? Is that young person now free to come and invest without any, of those charges which he talked about? Quickly, yes or no?
The truth of the matter is, I mean, he has said a lot of things he would have done if he was in my shoe, but the good thing is Aliyu Audu, and he is who that's correct. I do not say things that are untrue, and I do not put my name and my reputation on things I cannot vouch for. I'm very logical, I'm very scientific, I'm very pragmatic.
I'm saying, can that young person now come to Nigeria freely? That's what I'm asking, Mr. Audu.
I do not think that there is any system whatsoever that will not have click or click within clicks. The first thing first is to agree that we are a social, what was the phrase for it now? The way human nature is that there will always be people who are closer to some people than the others. However, if we all are on the same page and have a common vision, then I am confident that we will work.
The question is straightforward.
We'll take that
answer. We have to go, but the question is straightforward. Can those young Nigerians whom he spoke about,
government has been about,
I don't know if you can hear me, can those young Nigerians now come to invest in Nigeria? That's what I'm asking, because there are millions watching without being asked to pay something from the presidency or the cabal. Yes or no?
I didn't hear that case.
He was talking about a young person who wanted to come to Nigeria, but he says the presidency or people in the presidency were asking him to pay a certain amount before he could start that business. My question is simple, yes or no? Can young people come to Nigeria without being harassed or taxed illegally?
I wish I could categorically tell you that yes, they can do that, but one thing I can tell you is that the reality of things are not always as we think. But what I know that young Nigerians are doing and can do is to work themselves into position where they are the ones who open doors for people who have such innovations to come in without demanding from them. If we think any set of people, be it President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, be it APC, be it PDP, be it Labour Party, is an obstacle to us achieving the nation we want, then we need to work through that. We are not going to pray through that, and that is what I
Mr. Audu, thank you very much. I doubt that your answer addressed the question.
I'm not sure I even got the question, perhaps.
But we'll take what you have said. Beyond all of this, beyond what the presidency is telling Nigerians, beyond all of this is the result. How does a bag of rice go back to 10,000 naira from where it is now 100,000 naira? How does a crate of eggs get back to 800 naira or 1,000 naira? These are the answers that Nigerians need. How do we ensure that Nigerians are able to sleep with their two eyes closed at night? And we hope that the results will come. We want to thank you very much, Mr. Aliyu Audu, Special Assistant to Mr. President on Public Affairs. Thank you for joining us. He joined us from our Abuja studio. Thank you very much also, Prince Kennedy Ahanotu, National Youth Leader of the Labour Party. Thank you very much for coming on the program. And we've also had Mr. Anthony Ehilebo, member of the People's Democratic Party, who joined us via Zoom from Benin City. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on the program. And when we return, we'll switch gears to look at Nigeria moving 5 places up on the Transparency International Corruption Perception Index. What have we done differently, and what areas of improvement should we begin to look at? Stay with us for that conversation. We'll be right back.